Good day, New Earthians. This is your favorite, or my favorite, really, host of my favorite show, Cultivating Magic. You should always be your own favorite, right? Because when you favor yourself or are good to yourself, then you have the energy to be good to others in a way that you prefer. You're not playing the victim. And right now, Uranus is in retrograde. And that's not a joke, because it's so retrograding right now. And that's the planet of rebellion. And the aspects, as I was watching the video, are very similar to, astrologically speaking, when it was a civil war, civil unrest, revolution, renaissance. And this renaissance of the spirit, or renaissance of consciousness, not war. There's not really a consciousness war going on. There's not really a war between good and evil going on, because the higher aspects, war is non-existent. That's a concept from our understanding, because we're big galactic babies, and we understood things a certain way. When we tapped into our truths and connected with our higher selves, we understood God and angels and things from the concept of duality, good and bad. But now, we're understanding and maturing and evolving as a species, globally, individually. And really what I want to talk about is some of the stages of awakening I went through that I believe that many of you went through, because we're all the same. And it makes sense. So when you first get into an awakening, if you are still struggling with low vibrational energies, or energies of fear and jealousy and anxiety, and who hasn't? When you tap into your consciousness and your evolution and your higher self, at least when I did, it was a pretty scary experience, because a lot of demons, so to speak, rise to the surface to be cleared away. That's how it works. These emotions, these negative energies, rise to the surface to be cleared away. And we could do that effortlessly through ritual, intention, medicines, and love. It's all love. And a lot of times, though, we played out stories with each other, projected onto each other these feelings, made other people the bad guy, made ourselves the bad guy, had shame, had guilt. All this needs to be cleared away so that you could raise to a higher vibrational understanding or consciousness, to be in a more empowered space to manifest your desires. And you are a co-creator of reality, means that you have in your quantum DNA the God spark built in the image of your creator. You're creating all this with everybody else in this oneness. So it's understandable some of the early stages of awokeness is conspiracy theories. Why? Because it makes sense. Because when you become aware and you clear out some of that junk, you realize stuff doesn't feel right. Then you feel like you're being distracted, lied to, controlled energetically, and in a way you are. Defining that, however, is not so important, because what happens is, like for me and many of us, it's easy to get stuck into that level of awakening. Because first, when we look at something and we notice it, and it's a surprise, we just want to keep on looking at it because we are just so shocked that we didn't know, not realizing that's the way that's always going to work. You're not going to get it from your knowing. Your knowing is not going to kick in until you accept to receive new information. And we're taught a lot of stuff, right? We're taught that the world works this way, and that we're big talking meat beings. But really, we're amazing spiritual multidimensional beings. And the physical body is a manifestation of our energy. We're not in our body. We're in our Merkaba. Merkaba, the energy field, and our body is within that. And there are whole kinds of fields. There's fields of energy. All right? But we can go on tangents with that. Let's get back to the subject at large. So I went through the anonymous, the conspiracy theories, how we're being controlled, not realizing at the time of my evolution, and maybe this will resonate with you guys, that it was so easy to get stuck there because you get to see how bad it is, and it hurts your heart. But what happens is if I stay there, I stay in that fear and that anger, which is okay. You're allowed to be whatever you want to be because this is your journey and you evolved. It's not pass fail, it's pass. How you want to pass it is up to you. And I love those times. I love the revelations of the New World Order and things like that because it started to make sense that something was amiss. That the powers that be were distracting me and putting me purposefully in a state of fear and anger and angst so that I was easier to control. Because it's easier to give your power away when you're coming out of lower frequency vibrations. When you're in joy and love, it's more difficult to give away your power other than conscious power exchanges like love and partnership and family, which is a choice built on trust with intentions and vows, defined individually. So I got stuck in anger because I was so hurt and angry that I didn't realize that I was perpetrating and falling into all these different expectations of who I was supposed to be and roles and energies and investing in all this stuff. But the cool thing is the heart always wins and truth rises to the surface and healing happens in the darkest of times. That's the dark night of the soul, right? That release and purge of these energies, the Kundalini activation, whatever you want to call it, many names. So a lot of people tend to get stuck there. And the side effect, or byproduct of that, is they stay in a state of fear and anger, and they keep on looking about what's wrong or what's the problem. It's okay to be aware of it. But for that problem, by the law of attraction, the art of attraction, as I like to call it, for that to decrease, ironically as it sounds, it might sound like denial, but look to the love. Look to the joy. Look to what's beautiful. And the ugliness decreases on its own because by nature, your cup is full and running over. You can give everybody a drink because they were thirsty, aren't they? Thirsty for love, connection, companionship, understanding, compassion, kindness, joy. Because that's our true nature. That's where we come from as a core being of the oneness. So I encourage you, I implore you, I suggest to you that while your truths are true, like the Buddha would say, don't be attached to them. Let them go. Because new truths will come in. Cleaner, more refined, beautiful, full of joy. And then you start to see how the planet is getting better and is aligning and then becoming more beautiful. And that the darkness in society and people is just rising to the surface to be healed like it was with you as an individual. And if you attach yourself to being a light worker or a being of light or whatever role you attach yourself to, remember you can let that go and still be those things. You'll still shine light. You still will heal just in your being, because when you walk into a room, when you speak, you're coming from authenticity, from your core frequency, and everything just unfolds from that. It's inherent. You don't have to have the morals and values that are rigid from the past. All you do is love. And when you're coming from a place of love, you don't need to steal. You don't need to consciously let someone know you hurt by hurting them. You're not coming from a place of lack. You're coming from a place of luster. And that vibrationally will attract things that match that frequency. Money, love, beauty, whatever it is you want that symbolizes that in the material realm will come. And it's not the law of exertion. It's the law of attraction. So it'll come to you. So as things come to you, you can take them in, digest them, inspect them, dissect them, love them, hold them, cry with them for as long as you want. That's your choice. It's a free will. Then you can let them go. And that's going to be individual. My suggestion is that you, through your imagination, create a process where it flows in a space and a pace that feels good for you. You know, I know that for me, I wanted to go backwards. I wanted to not be woke. I wanted to, because I saw the ugly, because that's one of the first stages. But if you stick with it and you don't resist, because you can't go backwards, and realize you don't want to, that ignorance is not bliss. Quite the opposite. Ignorance is suffering. This is Krishna Premadas. Thank you for watching Cultivating Magic.